You been tripping on them hoes. Discuss this week's news both here and abroad. We turn now to the analysis of Brooks and Capehart. That is New York Times columnist David Brooks and Jonathan Capehart, associate editor for the Washington Post. Good to see you both.
Hey, Amna.
Let's begin with the news of the day, the Biden administration's decision to send these cluster munitions to Ukraine as it defends itself from Russia, just as President Biden prepares to head to the NATO summit next week. Jonathan, we heard earlier some of the debates about why people think it's a good idea, but also the huge risk it poses to civilian populations. Is this the Biden administration sacrificing the moral high ground for a battlefield advantage right now?
This is war. And President Zelensky, Ukrainian President Zelensky, is fighting or forced to fight a Russian president who's been ruthless, bombing civilians. Targets from almost minute one, with Zelensky pleading with the United States and the West, please send tanks, please send planes, please send us the most advanced military equipment you can give us because we need it. And so, sending cluster munitions is, I think probably crosses a line for a lot of people. But when you are the Western Alliance and the big mantra is this is authoritarianism versus democracy, and democracy must win, well, democracy has to have all the tools possible to make it possible.
David, the U.S. itself stopped using these back in 2003, right? What does it say to you about how they see the war right now?
Well, I think it says a couple things. One, apparently there are no other munitions to send. And so if that, you have horrible choices in war, and I understand why they made the decision. I think it says a few other things, though. One, why do they have no other munitions to send? What was wrong with their supply chains that we don't have normal artillery shells to send? Second, it says that the Ukraine advance is not going so great, in part because of the lack of munitions, but in part because the areas are all mined up. And the final thing one should ask, and I'm sure they're smart people over there, I'm sure they're asking this. You look back at the history of war, people make terrible decisions thinking something that's really devastating will devastate the enemy. And I'm thinking particularly of urban bombing in World War II, of Dresden and places like that. It had no value at all. And so they've been fighting a war that's largely an artillery war. Why should we think, I'm not a military expert, why should we think artillery warfare is actually going to yield any advance for either side? And so I hope they're asking these fundamental questions behind the tough decision they had to make.
Well, Jonathan, in terms of who opposes it, we've already seen even some opposition from within the president's own Democratic Party, right? California Representative Sarah Jacobs put out a statement opposing the U.S. sending these cluster munitions, saying our international coalition is strong because we're united together and because we're living up to our values. Sending cluster munitions defies these two tenets. Could this signal a wider rift to come?
Well, I mean, with all due respect to the Congresswoman, she's one voice. There might be other members of Congress who are behind her, and we will see as the weeks go on if more Democrats start coming out and opposing the administration, whether it is with regard to munitions or to funding. But then my question to everyone is, well, then should the United States send the fighter jets that Zelensky wants? And should the United States accept President Zelensky's assurances that he won't use them inside Russian territory? I mean, these are the tough questions that David's talking about.
What about in next week's NATO summit? How do you think this issue goes down there? We know Germany has already publicly opposed the U.S. sending these munitions.
Yeah, I would anticipate they will publicly oppose it and then understand privately. I imagine there may be some heartfelt opposition, but if Zelensky thinks he needs them, and if there's no other way to mount the campaign, then the U.S. is in the unfortunate position of being the responsible superpower, and so we have to make the tough calls. I do think it's going to be an important summit, in part because of the way NATO will be realigned, hopefully eventually getting Sweden in, but in part because of how Ukraine is treated. Obviously, we can't make Ukraine a part of NATO anytime soon, but we can, and I think the hope is to offer them the sort of security guarantees that we offer something like Israel. And so that is the gradual reshaping of the post-Ukraine war Europe, and I think the president's being pretty aggressive and probably the right way.
I want to ask you, back on the 2024 campaign trail, we saw some numbers this week from campaigns, quarterly fundraising numbers. These are not verified by the FEC yet. These are from the campaigns. We should point that out. But Jonathan, the DeSantis campaign announced it raised $20 million since he announced his campaign 6 weeks ago. There's a super PAC backing him that helped raise $130 million. Is this money going to help him close the gap between himself and the current frontrunner, former President Trump?
That's what he hopes. And $130 million, you could do a lot with $130 million. Donald Trump raised $35 million, double what he made in Q1. And all of these huge numbers tell me, and should tell Democrats, that half the country wants one of these, wants their guy to win, or wants their candidate to win. It's astounding that twice impeached, twice criminally indicted, and maybe more to come, former president is raising money hand over fist. But with Governor DeSantis, money can only buy you so much. And if he doesn't change the way he campaigns and is able to at least break through and have people think he's warm or human or, really wants to do this, I don't see him going anywhere.
David, I want to ask you about something we heard from former Vice President Mike Pence, because this is something we're seeing with a lot of the other candidates, which is having to answer for things that happened in the past. He spent a lot of time in Iowa. He was confronted recently by one resident who asked him why he didn't refuse to certify the 2020 election results back on January 6th in 2021. Here's that moment.
Do you ever second guess yourself? That was a constitutional right that you had to send those votes back to the states. It was not like you were going to personally elect him.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but that's actually what the Constitution says. No vice president in American history ever asserted the authority that you have been convinced that I had. And I want to tell you, with all due respect, I said when I announced, President Trump was wrong about my authority that day, and he's still wrong.
David, he needs the votes of the people who don't believe the last election was legitimate. What do you make of his answer?
Well, gave the right answer. It was a true answer. The problem they all face is that Donald Trump is not just a candidate, he's a social club. And my Times colleague, David French, made this point this week, that when you're in the Trump rally or you're in a Trump caravan or a boat, one of those boat crusades, it's fun. They're having fun. They're joyous. They're around people who agree with them. They have a beer, and it's a sense of belonging. And I think we've undercovered that element. And so for a lot of people, signing up to Donald Trump is not just this policy or that policy. It's not an attachment
Donald Trump launching new unhinged attacks on special counsel Jack Smith, the prosecutor who's charged him with 31 federal crimes, including mishandling classified documents and obstruction of justice. Joining us now to discuss, Republican presidential candidate and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. And Governor, you served, as you well know, as U.S. Attorney for New Jersey. On his Truth Social website, Mr. Trump is now calling special counsel Jack Smith a, quote, deranged man who, quote, looks like a crackhead. Beyond the propriety of that, from a legal point of view, do statements like that affect the case?
No, I mean, not really. I think, the only argument you could make is that it potentially affects a jury pool who's in South Florida reading this stuff and thinking, what the hell is he talking about? I did a lot of drug cases when I was U.S. Attorney in New Jersey. I can guarantee people that there isn't one particular type of crackhead. There's not anyone who looks like a crackhead necessarily. Look, this is just what makes Donald Trump an unacceptable nominee for our party, because he says things like this without any regard for truth or falsity, without any regard for the propriety of it. But even worse yet, what does that do to help anyone other than him? My argument all along has been this race in 2024 for Donald Trump is all about Donald Trump. It's not about the American people. He doesn't give a damn about the American people.
Sources say both Trump and his indicted aide, Walt Nauta, who appeared in court today, are convinced they should take their cases to trial. Their hope is for an acquittal because there will be a jury pool from South Florida. Florida is a state that Trump won. All you need is one juror. What do you make of that strategy?
Look, it's a real roll of the dice, because what happens then when you know you're guilty, and my suspicion is that Donald Trump knows he's guilty. You go and you take a case to trial, there will then be a presumption of jail time. And basically the way most U.S. attorneys' offices handle that is, if you plead, we can work with you in terms of whether you have to go to jail or not on some of the charges that he's talking about here. If you make the case go to trial, if you force us to go and put the witnesses on the stand and the judge to take the time and the jury to take the time, and you're prosecuted and convicted, then it's almost certain that you would face jail. And so it's a huge roll of the dice for both of these guys to do that. And I think that's a lot of bluster right now. I think as this case gets closer, they may think differently. And on a jury, I think it's horrible to say that about a jury anywhere. Look, I was in New Jersey, one of the bluest states in America, right?
Yeah.
But I never found a jury, and we did 130 political corruption cases during my 7 years. I never found a jury, Jake, that was focused on politics.
Because you weed them out during voir dire?
Part of it. Yeah. But also part of it is when they take that oath and they sit in one of those grand federal courtrooms, I found that most citizens take that responsibility really seriously. And even if they have certain points of view or prejudices, we all do, they really take it seriously when the judge says you have to put that aside and judge this only based on the facts that are presented here in this courtroom. And I found that jurors that I ran into for 7 years as U.S. attorney, I never saw one of them make what I thought was a political judgment. So they may be overestimating that as well.
So one of the questions that I've had throughout this classified documents case is why? Why did he do this? And I've asked a lot of people who know Donald Trump well why they think it is. You obviously know Donald Trump well. Here are a couple theories I asked of former Secretary of Defense under Trump, Mark Esper. I want to get your reaction after this. I've heard two different theories as to why he had these documents. One from Stephanie Grisham, who said he just likes, these are mine, and he's like a child with a toy. And one from Michael Cohen. He said he thought that Trump had these documents because he wanted to use them to further his own power or financial well-being in some way. Why do you think he held on to these documents and went to such lengths to stop them, to prevent them from being turned over to the government?
Yeah, look, I think both theories could be true and likely are true to some extent.
I have to admit, I was kind of surprised that Esper said that because the idea that he would use these secrets to further his own power or financial well-being is a shocking thing for him to think. What do you think?
I think it was purely ego. I think, Jake, he could not and still cannot to this day deal with the fact that he's the only person outside the state of Delaware to ever lose to Joe Biden. And he wants to pretend he's still president. He takes these boxes with him. Like, he flies them up. They're in New Jersey now if he still had them. They'd be in New Jersey because they go on summer vacation with him. I mean, he wanted to continue to pretend he was president and show these things to people and say, look what I still have. Look what I still know.
Oh, so it's all part of the kabuki about people telling him, oh, you're still president, you actually won, that whole thing.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's it. And I will tell you that I've seen him with, it's not the first time also with boxes of documents. In 2016, when I was campaigning with him, his body guy at the time, Keith Schiller, would have a box, a banker's box of documents that would go everywhere with him when he was campaigning. And whenever he got on the plane, he would put that box of documents right next to Donald Trump on the plane. He would open them. Now, those documents for Trump were from Trump Tower and were business related and also newspaper articles, whatever. And he wanted that box next to him immediately before we took off. So them talking about the beautiful mind documents
Right.
that the staff is talking about, that he was obsessed about it. There's an element to that as well. And I saw it going all the way back to 2016.
I want to ask you about what's happening in Ukraine right now because you're running to be commander-in-chief, obviously, and your fellow Republican contender Mike Pence said on the Hugh Hewitt show yesterday that if Ukraine is defeated in the war, the U.S. will ultimately, he fears, have to send troops to fight Russia's further aggression. He seemed to be suggesting that Russia would go and the U.S. would need to defend fellow NATO allies, which is required by charter. Do you agree?
Look, I don't think that's necessarily true. But what I do think is that this has huge geopolitical implications, Jake. We have to make sure that we send a very clear message, not only to Russia, but quite frankly, they're my third concern in this trifecta. China and Iran. China and Iran are both actively supporting Russia in this effort with both military hardware and cash to support Russia's effort in
Those
Ukraine.
Iranian drones, for example.
Iranian drones are killing civilians every week in Ukraine. And if we do not stand with Ukraine and help them to win this war, the message that it sends to Iran is they can do whatever they want to do in the Middle East, including vis-a-vis Israel. It will change the way Saudi Arabia has to conduct itself in the Middle East because of freeing Iran up to do these things. And China will be looking voraciously at Taiwan. This is already a proxy war with China and Iran.
This is a proxy war. Okay. Cool. Now we know. That sounds low as hell. That sounds, mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. 1 2. A B C, easier 1 2 3. Do I sound real good? Or do I sound like I'm back in the cut? Yeah, okay. So we can at least hear myself and we can hear somewhat of what's going on. Sorry for the sorry for the technical difficulties, people. They're coming in my live stream. Y'all like, what's going on? I ain't hearing the boy. The boy be speaking and talking and talking and speaking and reeking and demon and speaking. So, Okay, well. This election that's coming up is basically going to be based off on the war, Trump's with his old host, who can so-called bring the country together. This is going to be a wonderful. Set it up on the left, y'all. Set it up on the left now. Set it off. Come on now, set it off.
President Trump has made some pretty wild posts recently on social media. One of them was that the cocaine found in the White House had belonged to either the president or his son. Are you willing to say that that's not the case, that they don't belong to them?
I don't have a response to that because we have to be careful about the Hatch Act. What I will say is that I have noticed there does seem to be some increasing frustration coming from that corner in general. And I think it is probably rooted in the contrast between their substantive policy records.
All right, guys, so once again, we got to talk about the White House cocaine story. A story that continues to evolve and evolve and evolve because there's clearly a cover-up going on by the White House. Now, when this first happened, they told us it's not coke, right? Even though, you know, a lot of people were speculating that's what it was. And they say, okay, well, it is coke, okay? But, you know, it's not Hunter's, right? It's not Hunter Biden's coke. They tried to say that it was in the library. Now it's not in the library. They tried to say, well, you know, it was found in the West Wing, okay, where the tourists go, right? They tried to blame it on the tourists, right? Now they're saying that it wasn't found in the West Wing. It actually was found in the West Executive entrance, okay? The West Executive entrance in a secure location, the Situation Room, more specifically. But it wasn't Hunter, right? It's not Hunter Biden's coat, okay? This is what they're saying. They're even going as far as to low-key throw Kamala Harris under the bus and say, who knows, right? It was found there where the VP parked, so maybe it's Kamala.
Kelly, the big change is where this was found. And it was found, by my observation, in a much more secure place, limited access place than that West Wing reception area. It's still a frequently trafficked place, but it's down near the Situation Room, right off West Executive, down below. And normal people, average people just can't get in there, even with the entry from the Northwest Gate.
Well, let me bring you up to date with the reporting that I have. What we have learned is that there are, in fact, two West Wing entrances. You know that, I know that, but for the benefit of our audience. And now the investigation has progressed, and so they're saying the West Executive entrance, which, as you noted, is closer to the Situation Room and closer to the Navy mess, where there's the facilities for food and so forth. It is also next to West Executive Drive. That's where, for example, the vice president's vehicle is parked.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? They're even speculating that, who knows, maybe it can be Kamala's, right? But there's a bombshell video that has come out of Hunter Biden at the White House. I believe this happened during the 4th of July. I could be wrong about that, okay? But apparently this video right here shows Hunter Biden tweaking, right? I mean, look at this video. This guy appears to be tweaking. He appears to be kind of like losing his mind or whatever, right? Like, look at this. yeah, I think this guy, again, he may be.
He's like, honey, you know where I put my coke at? You know where I put the coke? All right. Big house, I know. Nah, just playing.
High off something. I don't know,
like
right? But videos like this definitely don't do the man justice. I mean, it looks like he's sweating. Maybe it's hot, okay? It could be hot. I mean, who knows? We could be overthinking this. But let's look at a longer version here, right? There's a longer version. It's Hunter Biden. He's stressing out, right?
How they put him down to
helping out with the kids. Again, maybe he's stressed out by the kids, okay? Maybe that's it. Who knows? I hope he wouldn't be, doing coke around his kids, but who knows? Jill Biden look like she ain't having none of it. Okay, she's done with Hunter. Okay, she's done with all this stuff. This part right here also caught my eye. Look at Hunter. He about to leave. Look at this. Boom. Look at that. Zoom in on that right there. He's sniffing his nose. Y'all see that? He playing with his nose. Right? He playing with his nose. Y'all tell me what that is.
Anybody watching my show? Y'all claim y'all from the streets and y'all from the hoods and y'all from this and you from that. You know what that boy looked like? He was. I know what I'm saying. But stop playing. Let's stop playing games when the game. Stop playing with the.
It is, bruh. Y'all know better than I do, right? Look at that. There we go, Bell. He playing with his nose. Okay, I'm not sure. Y'all tell me, bro. Y'all tell me, is he tweaking or what? I'm not sure, right? I'm not sure. But this is what is coming out, right? This is what people are speculating about in regards to whether or not, you know, that it belonged to Hunter, right? And the affirmative action press secretary was actually asked directly, point blank, did this cocaine belong to Joe or Hunter Biden? And the affirmative action press secretary, of course, got triggered, right? She got triggered and didn't like that question. Take a look.
In the most recent killings, really tragic. Wondering what the White House has to say about that. And then secondly, sorry to bring up cocaine again, but there was a question yesterday during the press gavel with Andrew Bates that was, I guess, he said that he was avoiding it because of the Hatch Act. I'm just asking again, can we just say once and for all whether or not the cocaine belonged to the Biden family?
So, a couple of things there. He mentioned the Hatch Act because the question was posed to him in using Donald Trump, and so he was trying to be very mindful. Okay, I hear you, but you're asking me a question, so I'm answering it for you. And so that's why he said the Hatch Act. So I would, have you read the transcript and read the transcript fully so you can see exactly what he was trying to say. So that's number one. So we're not avoiding the question. That is not true. We've answered this question, litigated this question for the last 2 days exhaustively. There has been some irresponsible reporting about the family, and so I got to call that out here. And I have been very clear. I was clear 2 days ago when talking about this over and over again as I was being asked the question. As you know, and media outlets reported this, the Biden family was not here. They were not here. They were at Camp David. They were not here Friday. They were not here Saturday. They were not here Sunday. They were not even here Monday. They came back on Tuesday. So to ask that question is actually incredibly irresponsible. And I'll just leave it there. Okay.
How is it irresponsible if y'all found coke and people just wanted, y'all know, it's like gossiping. You know what I'm saying? We want to know the hottest stories, the hottest trends, the hottest clothes, who's sniffing shit up their nose, where the fuck going up. Some people booty holes. I'm just saying, people want to know everything. If you stick a microphone in a tube and a camera up some places, I bet you it would go there. Y'all be thinking I'm just playing it. I think I'm just saying things, just be saying things. But I'm just saying, this is what people be looking for and looking towards and looking for us to be a part.
Yeah, so she's triggered, right? She's triggered by the media asking questions that they should be asking, which is, did the coke belong to Joe or Hunter, right? Who did it belong to? Okay, I mean, that is a legitimate question, and she's getting mad and then trying to say, well, I've been clear. And I'm like, no, you haven't been clear. You've been the exact opposite of clear. This is the least transparent administration ever, okay? Because anytime you're asked a question about something that is uncomfortable that you really don't want to talk about, you don't answer. You refer people to everybody else, right? I mean, that's what Corinne Jean-Pierre's specialty is, okay? Jen Psaki's specialty was to circle back, right? I'm going to circle back. Corinne Jean-Pierre's specialty is, well, I'm going to refer you to somebody else, just don't ask me, okay? And it's just hilarious because when she continues to get questions that she hasn't answered because she haven't answered these questions. She wants to boo-hoo, whine, and complain and say, oh, well, yeah, questions are inappropriate. It's like, no, they're not inappropriate. Because, again, you haven't been clear. Does the coke belong to Joe or Hunter? Now, look, you know, at this point, they're not even ruling out whether or not Joe or Hunter had the coke, which tells you everything you need to know. That is Hunter's, right? I don't think that Joe is on that stuff, okay? He's way too sleepy, right? I don't think he's on the stuff, and I don't know if his heart can take it, right? I'm just saying, the guy's almost 80 years old. But, you know, what they're trying to do here is to run cover. They're trying to pretend like, hey, you know, this is not a big deal. We need to sweep on a rug. Eventually, we'll find out who it belongs to. When, you know, the White House is full of cameras, right? They inspect, okay, and they go through everybody when you're entering the White House, okay? I mean, it's not easy to just smuggle drugs into the White House. If somebody did it, again, they...
Yet again, we're gonna say, and this is I'm just being honest, I'm being a little bit more blunt than how he is. Of course, the average Joe person can't sneak no drugs up in the White House. We talking about Joe Biden's son right here. That man got access to sneak some freaking coke up in stuff, man. Stuff like that, like stories like that, like, yo, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm just gonna keep it 100. Like, I understand when people can't do things, but there are people out there that can, and stop, man. The White House is not as locked down as we want to portray or think it is, or you might hear that it might be. It's not, y'all. I'm just gonna keep it so like 3006. Oh, she, alright. Shove it out by there, yeah. Shove it out by there, yeah. Yeah.
Now to the latest on the sexual misconduct allegations involving Chicago police officers and migrants.
At least 2 investigations are underway tonight, and the migrants at the district involved have been moved.
CBS 2's Maribel Gonzalez is live with the late developments. Maribel.
Yeah, Joe and Erica, we still have not learned the identity of those.
Y'all lucky I ain't got my horn thing. I'd have been sounding along. Whee! Come on now. Immigrants and inmates trying to spin your benya. They touched on a little girl.
Officers accused, but earlier today, community members were right outside of the police station here protesting and demanding that police release that information.
Silent cops are guilty too! Silent cops are guilty too!
Allegations of sexual misconduct involving police are sparking outrage among community members.
If any of the allegations are found to be true in fact, we will take charge and attempt to hold them accountable for their actions.
Internal Affairs and the Civilian Office of Accountability now investigating after sources say as many as 4 officers from the 10th Police District had improper sexual...
Okay. I just started doing this politics stories and stuff, so I'm new, fresh into this game. You know, I'm still having hiccups of getting the microphone and things straight. You know, I'm still new at this, bro. But dang, I feel like, and I got a few people that watch, and they could probably agree with me on this. I think I do a Chicago story once a week. The nastiness, filthiness thing that let go on in that town, the corruption, the violence, the unnecessary marching of vandalizing people cars and stuff and getting away with things like that. I thought we were just gonna be looking at maybe California, but man, Chicago is so corrupted. To be black ran, and to see shows like Martin Yanny, which we'll find his show later. We'll get to one of his shows. To see his shows don't discuss. Now this right here, oh, he's gonna be all over. Everybody's gonna be all over this. Everybody just probably waiting on a little bit more information to come out so they can break it down, so they can sound good, sound information. That's why I'm just live. We just covering the story as we hear the stories, and so you can see that, like, this is crazy.
Will contact with at least one of the migrants taking shelter there. Sources also say one of the officers has been accused of impregnating a teenage migrant. Chicago police have not confirmed this.
The police department is supposed to be protecting them, and we thought that by having them here, they will be safe.
Friday afternoon, dozens of newly arrived migrants staying at the West Side police station
I just thought about something. I just tripped out something. And I first of all, let me just apologize, but I'm still finna say this anyway. I'm just gonna apologize first. But we're talking about illegal immigrants here. Now, nobody should get assaulted. The cops should still be arrested and everything. You know. What if he was arrested and sent back to Mexico? Is that right? Is that a little bit of justice? That might be a little bit of justice. It might be. I might be overstepping. But immigrants that are legally here in America, they can smoke this good green with us without no problems. You see, that's what I'm saying. You got people that ain't supposed to be here that's under some books that ain't got no. And then you got bad people here. Now, everybody's finna look at that whole entire corruption city. Now, nobody's finna get respect in that town, that city, in that county, or wherever this actually take place at in Chicago. Nobody's finna respect nobody around there. So what you know, they not finna get no respect. So what that finna mean? Violence finna go up.
moved out in buses.
Those allegations itself should shake us to our core.
As hundreds of migrants are taking shelter at police stations across the city, Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, a member of the Homeland Security Committee, says more federal funding is needed to house this growing population.
We're talking about people who have been crossing borders, in some cases deserts and jungles, for weeks. It reminds us that we have a responsibility to ensure that we get the resources necessary to move.
If we get the resources, y'all. But you still finna 33% of the homeless people get off the street. I cannot wait to find out the statistics of how many illegal immigrants get off the streets. These are things that people probably are afraid to talk about. Oh, why is he talking about them? He should be ashamed of himself. They are humans too. They are somebody. Okay, cool. They're somebody. They're supposed to be somebody. They are somebody. I am with you on them being somebody. But there are somebody who ain't supposed to be here with already corruption here that we can't even get a grip on. We're overpopulated in small little areas and big cities and small towns. We're overpopulated. In Las Vegas alone was not expecting to have millions of people here. That's why they didn't care nothing about their school system. When you're not expecting a lot, you don't want to have to do a lot. Now there are a lot, you expect a lot to happen. You expect more things to move rapidly. You might not see it like that. You might like, you tripping. Okay, I'm tripping. But that's how it needs to happen. That's how it's going to have to happen for the simple fact that's the way it was planned. If America didn't expect to have all these illegal immigrants over here, you think they would have did something really to the debt center? Like, no, we're not expecting them. They're not gonna come over here. They wouldn't have tried to raise the debt center, or make it unlimited for the next 4 years. Make that make sense, bro. That means we can print out. And then I ask myself, and you should ask yourself like this: when certain things are announced, don't you think that trigger people that break crimes like, damn, hold on, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We was at a debt ceiling. They raised that money to unlimited. That means they finna be printing out money. I'm broke. Oh man, let me get to the money. There's unlimited money out here. So now all these scams to get money
are about to start happening.
You might as well go try them out because it's unlimited money out here that needs to be grasped. You may not want to grasp it like that, but you might as well grasp it like that because that's how it's being presented. That's how they're showing us. That's how they're going to see us for the future. We're going to see a time to where they're going to have to make curfews in the streets. They're going to have to. Because there's going to be a lot of corruption. Right now, it's like it's starting to build up. 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 Wait till it start to get cold, and nighttime's a little bit longer. Come on, man. I'm not trying to say to predict the future. I'm not no prophet. I'm not none of that. It's just like some people out here can connect the dots. Some people can see. I talk to a lot of people, and they see the same thing that I see. You see the same thing that I see. We see the same thing together. It's not hard to see that our future is going to be corrupted and changed to where we have to see where we're going. We got to start making a change. Both sides want to change. I'm never say you got to put down. I'm never gonna try to say. Let me rephrase this. I'm never try to say that it's time to put down something just so we can start thinking smarter to vote. But then some people have to put down things in order to get ahead in life to do other things. I know a lot of people with daughters in school. I got a cousin, may he rest in peace. He got girls. They got daughters that got girls that's finna go to school. This era right here, this beginning of this era right here for kids that are in school is troublesome. The homeless rate just quadrupled by a lot. By the number that yes. It's crazy that I need to start doing. I need to do like I said, I need more homework. I need to do more homework because my God, ladies and gentlemen, how big and how productive this may be. This is deeper than rap. This is deeper than rap. Yeah, we may not see it, we may not understand it, we may not know what it is become, but this is deeper than rap. Hey, I'm just saying. I may have lost a lot of audience earlier with the mix mic up and stuff like that, but I hope that I bring people to come back and watch us earlier, watch us later on. If I do save this and edit it, which I ain't even got that set up, I should cut out the first 15 minutes. But that's cool. We're gonna get this together, man. I'm not gonna hold nobody that much longer, dog. We're gonna practice on some things, get into something, y'all. It's been a good one. Sort of. We're gonna get it together. Alright? Ladies and gentlemen, have a good night, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're watching this.